in terms of the genre trends themselves, when we're talking about hip hop, we're talking specifically right now on the recorded music revenue side of things. So in 2021, hip hop, and this is hip hop and R&B because the two genres are combined, at least the way that they do it in the categories. Should they be combined? They should not. That's a whole other thing, but we're not going to get into that today. The 2021 share of revenue was 27.7, and in 2022, it dropped to 26.8. But it's important to note that this is still trending with an overall industry where in 2021, hip hop and R&B's recorded music revenue was 2.72 billion, and in 2022 it was 2.78 billion. Looking at that trend line, I hope that it will continue to grow, but there is a chance that it could be not too much further above 2.8 once we have the numbers for 2023. So that'll be interesting. But like we shared in the report, pop, rock, country, and dance have all pretty much stayed consistent, but it's Latin music that continues to have that uptick. In 2021, Latin recorded music accounted for 5.4% of the revenue. And then in 2022, it's up to 6.3. So there's that 0.9%. It essentially went from hip hop to Latin music. 2022, the huge year for an artist like Bad Bunny, he had 4 billion streams across all of these platforms. But it's not just him. There's other artists as well. So there's a number of different points that factor into these types of things.
And this is where a graph does a beautiful job, because you could say to yourself, listening to this, only 1% drop in market share. Yeah, so what? But when you step back and look at the long-term trend, first you see this incredible steep rise over many, many years, really smooth. It doesn't wobble each year. And then you see this plateauing, which we called in early 2001, based on 2020 data. And you got this plateauing, which is really, really clear. And then the start of this decline. And it's only 1%. But the question is, will it be a continued long-term trend? In which case, down and down and down and down and down, and many 1% will add up. Or is the industry collectively, and I think it's an industry level thing, it's like a hip hop level thing, like, is there something that can genuinely buck that trend? Because if not, then don't forget, like you say, Latin is growing now, not a one-off thing, also a long-term trend. And if they're on the ascent in a strong way in this last year and they keep doing that, it's only going to eat into hip hop. So it's not just like little bits here and there, album launches here and there. It's long-term cultural trends we're talking about here. And that long-term view of it really changes your thinking, so you don't accidentally just dismiss a 1% trend as nothing. You say, it's the start of something really clear and long-term here. So now's the time to start really investing to try and turn that around. Don't let it turn into a long-term trend.
Right. And that's where some of the concerns about some of the narratives that get put out there can be challenging, because the headlines that we see that don't always provide the context, those are the things that can lead to investment decisions, marketing budgets, and things like that, and willingness to sign certain types of artists from certain genres, willingness to put money towards radio budgets, music videos, and things like that. So that's where some of these things can be a bit concerning depending on how the data is shown, but hopefully reports like this can help add that additional context. I think it's also important to know too that so much of this growth has or not even growth, but so much of the genre shares over time have tracked with these music streaming, the digital service providers, the DSPs, and how they have continued to grow and expand, and what their audience demographic has looked like over time. We know from the data and research and insights that it's hip hop artists and fans that do tend to move early on to so many of these platforms. You saw it in streaming, you saw it in mixtapes and ringtones and digital downloads and things like that. But over time, as all of these DSPs have grown, they have reached a lot of the market that they already have reached in areas like the US, North America, and Europe. They're now trying to reach Latin America and the rest of the world. And in those regions, they are going to want to connect with their superstars. We've talked about globalization and the impact of that. That is what streaming enables. So naturally, we've been able to see the rise of Latin music and things like that, and how that continues to grow and expand over time. So there's each of these different factors that play in here. So yeah, in the late 2010s, when streaming is just getting up to speed, it's hip hop that it leans on. And even thinking about things like Apple Music and a lot of those early exclusives and campaigns, those were all hip hop artists that they did that with initially. But now we are starting to see more of that international growth and expansion. And you see it even as recently as what Spotify shared in their Q3 earnings a couple of days ago, before at least the time of this recording. So it's going to be fascinating to continue to track and look at this.